Welcome to the Creative Visionaries podcast. My name is Tori Barker, a digital marketing specialist, business owner, mom, and you guessed it, a creative visionary. This podcast is about inspiring business owners, building connections, sharing success stories, and motivating others. Join me on this journey as we tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary. Hey there, podcasters. Are you looking to take your show to the next level? Let me introduce you to Podtask, the innovative platform that simplifies the podcasting process and equips you with the tools you need to succeed. With Podtask, you can say goodbye to the headache of managing multiple tasks and deadlines. This app provides a comprehensive systemization and task management platform that helps you streamline the podcasting process. And it doesn't just stop there. Podtask also offers AI-based marketing tools to give your podcast a competitive edge. As a fellow podcaster, I know from experience how important it is to have a reliable and efficient tool like Podtask to keep you on track. It helped me save so much time in post-production, which allows me to focus on what really matters, creating great content for my listeners. So if you want to take your podcast to the next level, be sure to check out Podtask. As a special offer to my listeners, you can sign up today and get started with their free forever plan by visiting creativevisionnariespodcast.com/podtask. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again on the Creative Visionaries podcast. Today, I have a fantastic guest, Eric Wright. Eric is the Chief Content Officer for GTM Delta and a podcast host of the Disco Posse podcast. Eric, welcome on the call.
Welcome to you for being on the other side of the microphone. It's so fun as a podcaster. It's usually the other way. So this is super cool to be a guest. And Tori, thank you very much for letting me join. I'm excited by the chance to chat.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do.
Yeah. The old, what exactly do you do here? I'm a nerd at heart and a storyteller by nature. And I've managed to put those two things together to become a introvert behind the scenes, but a professional extrovert. I really came from a background of working in technology, had a really diverse background before that. I worked in retail. I was a cobbler. I was a landscaper. I've done some really odd things, which somehow led me naturally to systems development and systems architecture. I know it's a natural path, but then did about 20 years over a couple of companies in financial services as a systems architect, then became a blogger in the middle of that, started writing technology blogs and sharing my learnings, which turned into me becoming a technology evangelist for a company which was, it was then called VM Turbo, became Turbonomic. And then my company was acquired by IBM about a year and a half ago. And then I was with IBM for about a year. And then I went and I had a long-time passion and a good friend who we've thought, hey, this problem of like solving technical, technically aimed storytelling, it's a gap that's hasn't been able to be filled. And we thought, let's see if it is something that we can actually launch as a company. And it turns out it's definitely a gap that needs to be filled, and we're doing our best to fill it, and it's going quite well. So that's what GTM Delta came from. And then the podcast was actually just, I meet amazing folks like yourself all the time at events, and I'm always excited by the conversations. And it just kind of became a thing where people would say like, I wish I could have been there for the discussion. I'm like, maybe I should record it. So now, 326 or so episodes later, that's become the Disco Posse podcast. There's a long story behind the Disco Posse thing, which is fun, but I won't open with that. So there you go. That's all about me. And so, yeah, here I am. I'm a co-founder of a neat company called GTM Delta.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for the intro. I'm definitely intrigued by GTM Delta and the technical aspect. So you do marketing content for technical companies?
Yeah, the focus is, so I've been a technical marketer and a technical product marketer, which is meaning that real sort of, I'm going to be this quite honest, right? It's aimed at nerds, right? If I'm a nerd and I need to find out about something, the moment I open a blog or an article up and it says, according to industry analyst, I can't hit the X fast enough. Like
Yeah.
I need to find out, like, how does this thing work? How do you solve my problem? So what we started to realize is that by writing very, tuned content, this is the fun dichotomy, right? It has to be aimed at a technical reader
Yeah.
talking about a technical product. So we're really, it's a niche market already. And then on
Sure.
top of that, you got to work with Google juice, right? I got to make sure that it's SEO friendly. I've got to make sure it's readable. I've got to infuse storytelling to make it exciting to consume, but yes, be deeply technical. So it's a really interesting merger of many practices.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun because I've always been a bit of a generalist, and I've loved that the idea of, can I make technical content and storytelling come together? So
Mm.
when people say, what do you do? I give emotion to technical content. That's
I love that. And what do you see is the biggest type of medium that this audience resonates with?
yeah,
Is
it's
it
generally the
articles or videos, or tell me a little bit about that?
yeah, this is an interesting thing because as a podcaster, I do video training as well for a company called Pluralsight. I've done a couple of courses, and I love creating that type of media, but I don't consume it. It's the most
Mm.
bizarre thing. And when you're looking for a problem, you generally don't go to video unless it's like a how-to.
True.
But even then, it's super frustrating, especially folks like me who have ADHD, and which is a commonality amongst technologists. Like that style of work, we're very able to just like, what's wrong right now? All right, I got it. So the type of medium has to be concise, technically accurate, and quick to answer the question that I'm asking. Because when
Yeah.
I go to Google, I don't say, hey, how is this product solving this problem? No, I say, how do you solve this problem I've got, right? How do I, scale Kubernetes onto 2 clouds? How do I lower my cloud bill? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we write towards that. It's generally the blog article format,
Mm.
anywhere from 1,200 to 2,000 words is the most common size. And then white papers, which are the next layer. Now I'm going to go into the marketing world, right? And so we talk about top of funnel, right? So people that
Yeah.
are, how you entice them to come in, and that's usually the blogs. And we write about not the products, but the problem.
Mm.
So how do I make sure that when I go to search for the problem solution, that I see the problem laid out in front of me and I go, ooh, yeah. And the whole idea is you want them to be nodding along. It's like when you're public speaking. You want the audience to be engaging and get into the 3rd paragraph and the 4th paragraph and then saying, cool, this solved my problem. Oh, look over there on the sidebar. Oh, you have this problem? We've got an upcoming webinar. So
Yeah.
effectively, I can set up the digital marketing team to carry that person into the digital marketing funnel. And then white papers are longer form assets where we can really dive into some really heavy tech. It's fun. Well, for me, it's fun anyways. and, and that generally would be like a middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and sometimes top, but it's someone's usually engaged. They've found you, they have some awareness of the company, but now they want to, do you really know what you're doing? And then they have a longer form, 6 to 8 page, sometimes even like 15-page white papers. And it also gives me a chance for those companies to help to really like end with, oh, by the way, since we've described this problem for the last 10 pages, here's exactly how this platform solves this problem. And because I've really gone into the idea of the science of behavior and the science of engagement, that I can take that and then merge, what are the required capabilities for a solution? What are the key phrases that are going to be meaningful to the consumer of this platform or product, and bring that together so that when it gets to the solution, you've basically set it up. So like, here's the problem. Like, okay, so
Yeah.
I believe there's a problem. I agree that I have this problem. I agree that you have a solution which seems to solve this problem. And now get invited to a webinar, so then it's additional awareness, it's credibility,
Yeah.
which as a technical consumer, we naturally distrust anything related to marketing. It's the most bizarre thing. My entire purpose in life as a systems architect was to never be sold software.
Mm.
I want to buy software, not be sold it. So it's a very reverse type of engagement where there's a strong sense of control from the consumer, and that's why it's a tough one. Like, so I'm the basically the gatekeeper to you getting at my economic buyer.
Yeah.
And again, learning that how the organization works in digital marketing and sales, and knowing the receiver, the consumer side of it, it was fun to kind of just glue all this together. I didn't realize that all these weird skills that I was acquiring, it seems like almost accidentally, would come together in this fantastic matrix. And then I was like, ooh, we can solve all of these things to deliver a very niche specific solution. So it's been fun.
As a podcaster, you know that creating great content is only half the battle. That's where Remarker comes in. Remarker is a podcast branding, production, and marketing solution. Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting out, Remarker will help you grow your show and build your authority. So why wait? Head to creativevisionariespodcast.com/remarker. That's REMARKR, where you can book a demo and discover how Remarker's full service approach can benefit you and your podcast. Well, I think the key point in all of this that you're saying is that you understand who your audience is. And so you have a fine-tuned avatar or description or understanding psychographics of who the consumer is that's going to be listening to, reading, hearing, like watching, whatever the content is that you're creating. You know exactly who that person is, so you know how to write to them, how to speak to them, any of that messaging. So it's almost like, I think a lot of businesses fall short in that aspect because they are very, vague or not specific. And once you have that ideal target audience and you know exactly who you're talking to, the conversion, if you will, is going to be so much easier because you're solving the problem that they have because you know who they are.
Precisely. And this is the interesting thing too, is the habit of very proud companies, right, and very proud technologists that are in these startups, in this case, or even any business in retail and whatever. The natural instinct is we're so proud of what we do that we want to tell you what we do and why we needed to exist because the industry is broken. That's almost always the narrative. Is like, the industry has been wrong, we figured out the solution, and this is what we do. And that's fantastic. But no one wants to just see that first. Yeah. They want to really be like entrenched in like I said, when I'm doing public speaking, I'm not here to make people think I'm smart. I'm here to make people agree that a problem I've experienced is also one they've experienced. And you can see it in the feedback. And then what you end up doing from there is then help them towards a solution. And the same thing with writing content for any company. You don't just write about the only thing you do, but also what are the adjacent problems that person, that persona would experience. So if you're, something like maybe you're in gluten-free cooking, right? So I want gluten-free baking. So if I'm a gluten-free baking company, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write about, how to create pie crusts, because it's Pie Day as we're recording this, right? It's March 14th. So I just literally baked a gluten-free pie crust. So what did I do? I Google gluten-free pie crust recipe, and then what are the top things that come up, right? And then that company may be King Arthur's flour, if I may use a brand that I happen to enjoy. I'm not incented in any way by mentioning them. But then I see King Arthur's gluten-free flour. Here's the recipe. Here's how to do it. I'm like, ooh, so tell me, what else do you guys have? Oh, they happen to have a baking mix, which I can use. Oh, look, they also have, baking mats. Oh, neat. They've got a cupcake mix. So all of a sudden I've got awareness because they've solved an adjacent problem. And it's that same thing so they may also write about the best way to roll out dough. It has nothing to do with being gluten-free, but it's a problem that's also experienced by people who match the persona. It's like a cohort. That's the thing you talk about, is like, how do we
For sure.
also give important information freely to a potential buyer that hopefully they just build trust and we build credibility. And then as a result, they have brand awareness. And the next time that they see a King Arthur's ad, because if we're doing good retargeting, then all of a sudden I got King Arthur's ads all over the place. And I'm like, dang, I really do feel like having some cupcakes. I'm going to try that King Arthur's cupcake mix. And then that's it. I'm now at the bottom of the funnel.
I love that. So I want to shift a little bit and talk about something that's currently a big buzz. And I'm sure that this is in your world, and I know exactly, you probably know exactly what I'm going to say. So
I know where this is going.
so let's talk about the effect of AI and specifically ChatGPT in this business that you're in, and how you use it, how you leverage it. What's your thoughts on that technology?
I am an interesting character in that I've always been profoundly drawn towards highly automated technical solutions so that I can spend time doing very manual things that require artisanal touch. So I brew coffee with an AeroPress, which most people would think it's disturbing, the coffee routine that I create for myself. And they're like, aren't you the automation person? I'm like, yeah. So that I've got time to make the most amazing cup of coffee, right? So content creation is effectively the same thing, particularly in technical product marketing. So technical product marketing is very specific. You have to be keenly aware of what's the problem that person solves, what's the personality of that person. And you can do that. I've used ChatGPT a lot. I've done a ton of research on it, and I've been using AI writing models for a long time and large language models. So I'm deeply familiar with how it works. But a couple of important things, right? ChatGPT is originally based on other sources of truth, but it does not have a way to verify that it is actually true. It may look at same thing at Google, right? Google uses algorithmic ways in order to find which is the most engaged content, and then it starts to move it up towards the top of the search results. So ChatGPT does the same thing. It looks for the most widely read, consumed content, and it will believe that this is a source of truth. Then it has to make it its own, and it does some fantastic stuff. But what it can't do is live the experience of the person that really wants to read this article. What it can't do is create new content with authority and with trust, because it can write software. Like it can literally write software with these GPT based tools. However, I've used it, and sometimes it writes software that uses an old style of code because it's pulling it from other sources, and it is merging. So it is creating new things, but it's always based on a merger of existing content. So if I'm a brand new company and I want to create technical product marketing content, I have to create truth, not try to have some tool find it. And there's a huge risk. Also, we don't know what the impact is on intellectual property rights. We are likely heading into a very interesting 5 years as that begins to occur, where are the risks on, on legality. It'll be interesting. So our authors that we have in our content engineering community are restricted from using any AI tools. We get them to write, and we help to nuance it. We, edit it, and we format it so that it's highly discoverable. We do all that stuff, but it really is about relate your lived experience in a written format so that it's something you would read. ChatGPT, amazing at writing emails, writing, ad copy, writing, web copy, but even then must be verified. So there's going to be amazing stuff that can be done with it. And I've used it for a lot of additional things. Ironically enough, I've used it. We've got a huge sort of like training campaign we're going to do, which is helping people to use these tools like ChatGPT. And in fact, we've created our own tool that uses it to make sure that our authors are not using it. So we can actually measure whether content has been generated by an AI tool, because there's patterns that you can find. And the other biggest problem, sorry, I'm like, this is the longest answer you've ever gotten on this.
No, it's fine.
Is that Google specifically knows how to detect AI written content, and it purposefully downranks it. So if you're writing content and you're using these tools and you're not infusing it with your own voice, your own words, your own style, it has a high risk of just not being discoverable. And it may save you some time, but it sure isn't going to fill your marketing funnel, which is kind of what you really want. You want people to come and find you.
Yeah. I think the what you just said, the last piece is that infusing your voice and your personal approach to it, because what technology is what it is, right? You can leverage it, it can do so much for you, but there's only so much that technology can do in relates to experience, right? Like if I've been in the marketing industry for 20 years and I go to like a chat GPT to look for something marketing specific, there's something about the 20 years that I've put in physically that they just aren't going to be able to pull out. And so, yes, leverage it as a resource and, help to speed up the process, but for sure, put your own voice in it. Put, the technical aspect that you only know or the experience that you only know, and that's going to get you a better result in the long run. So, great
There's certain
tool,
things,
but make sure you use it the right way.
absolutely. And one thing that we've sort of mastered in what GTM Delta does is that we do deep research with the client up front. So we do like about 8 to 10 hours of interviews with people in the company. We learn their vision, their mission, their voice, how the company started, really learn a ton about before the sale, after the sale, during the engineering process. So it's neat that we dive in full form as if we were going to become their product marketing team.
Yeah.
And we can actually write in the voice and in the style of the CTO or the founder. And that's one thing at the last company I was with, where it's kind of cool when you write something and someone's like, hey, you should check out this blog that, the CTO wrote. And I look at it, I'm like, I'm glad it worked because I wrote that. But it was meant to be like, our CTO should be building product, not content. So can I write something that is legitimately in their voice as if they said it? Yeah. And you learn like the nuances of language. And I've always enjoyed that. Like I'm a behaviorist by, just pure joy of people watching and learning how people speak and interact. So to be able to take that and then be able to write content truly as if somebody said it. And that's pretty cool. And again, like ChatGPT can do stuff like that. If you say, write this like Anthony Hopkins is reading it. And it can do that because Anthony Hopkins has hundreds of hours of audio and video content that it's consumed. But what it can't do is say, write something like this brand new first-time founder wrote it. Because it has no idea who they are.
Right. And it's isn't it ChatGPT only has information up to 2019? Isn't it something like that?
Yes. Yeah. So there's limits on what it can consume. There's limits on the source of information. So your random website is not going to be discovered. Your research papers are not going to be discovered. There's a lot of stuff it can't touch. So yeah, we will see more changes in future, potentially where we'll see like ChatGPT agents where you can say like, hey, index me. And I'm sure they'll move towards that down the road, but we're years away from that. And even then, like I said, it's just, there's so many reasons why you wouldn't want to use it for the specific niche that, content creators can solve this problem. Again, super fantastic as a writing cue. That's actually great. If you're brand new to content creation, use it as a writing prompt.
Yeah.
And it helps you to kind of like write that first couple of sentences and go like, ooh, okay, now, rewrite it as if it's me writing it, like use it as a trigger.
Yeah.
And then just like right below that, say, okay, now how would I write this? And it is helpful in that for people that just need a little nudge to get started.
Right. It's like it solves your writer's block.
Right. Yeah. And
it's so awesome for that.
I've met so many people where, when given that white, Microsoft Word page, and you're just like, they just get that sort of like, okay, I need to generate 1,500 words of content, like, okay, like I've got a flow. I know it's like, I know the flow of an effective blog. It's like, so I've noticed recently that there's something going on. And then, why is it that this actually occurs? Heading. Okay. Yeah. Here's the, describe the problem deeper. the real problem that's occurring. And then if only there was some kind of a way. And so I know like a specific flow of how to create an effective, readable blog.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you aren't used to doing it literally thousands of times, like I've done, no one should have to have lived through the amount of writing that I've done. So why not let a fantastic tool like that do it?
Kickstart it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some interesting things about the more we use it, because they're like, hey, this is really neat. And you're like, you're just feeding the machine.
Yeah.
It will genuinely impact some human processes, which may affect sort of jobs and an understanding of the value that people have in creating specific types of content. But really, in the end, there are still so many other things that are adjacent to that, or that need to feed it, or that need to nuance it, that, there aren't that many people who are just like, just tapping out words. Like they research, they learn. There's going to be much more that those people can do that's of higher value. Yeah. And they can use this as an assistant, basically. And that's how they should treat it. It's an assistant, but in the end, you've got to put your touch on it.
I agree. Well, I want to wrap this up with one final question and have you tell the audience what's your advice on, if you're new to the technical marketing world, where do you start and how can you bring value?
It's a great question. Really read, listen, reach out. The technology community is such a vast and very open community. There are lots of free resources. There's lots of free community meetups. There's lots of free online events. You can head on over to gtmdelta.com. Like, we've got stuff where we're actually creating more education for our content engineer community. So we give away tons of learning. It's, I sound like I'm a product pitch here. Like, we don't charge people to be members of the community. That's the goal. Is like, why in goodness name would I want to do? If you go to, I'll say other gig-based marketplaces, they charge you to be a member. And like, that's just silly to me. Like, why would I do that? I want to give more away than I take. That's my whole goal in life. So just listen to many voices too. It's very easy as humans to read one person a lot and then begin to create in that voice. So by getting a diversity of voices and a diversity of sources, it helps you to, out of that set of influences, create and discover your voice. And most important, like I said, just reach out, because there's people out here who are willing to help. You can hit me up. I'm Disco Posse everywhere. Just go to LinkedIn, search for Disco Posse. Trust me, there's only one. Same on Twitter, and always, my DMs are open. My LinkedIn, I connect with anybody, because if I can help you to find what's next for you, then that makes my day better.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest, and definitely you guys reach out to Eric and take advantage of his technical knowledge, his experience, and just, shoot him over a message.
That's great. Thank you very much, Tori. It's a real pleasure. And, the chance to connect with you was really incredible. And that shows you the value of open networks and the opportunity to connect with people. And every new connection is one message away. And there are so many people who are willing to do that. So, and you continue to impress with everything that you've done, and I'm super happy. So we get turned around. Hopefully we get to do the reverse. I get to have Tori on the Disco Posse podcast next. And so looking forward to that.
Absolutely. You will definitely see me on there. Well, go out there, guys, bring some value to your audience and build a community and make it a great day. Thanks so much for listening to the Creative Visionaries podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, or share with a friend. Also, make sure to visit us online at creativevisionariespodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And stay tuned for more episodes to come. And remember, it's time to tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary.